Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of RPS Live, our last edition of this school year. I can't believe it, but we are one day away from concluding this most incredible, extraordinary, unusual, any adjective you can come up with school year. And I just want to say to everyone who is watching, whether you are a teacher or a bus driver or parent or student, from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of all of RPS, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was truly a team effort this year, and I hoped and prayed that we would not only survive, but thrive, and I believe that we have. I hope everyone in the RPS family holds their head up high. I think we accomplished what a lot of folks didn't think we could pull off, and we did it, and we did it incredibly well. So I am incredibly proud. Yes, cheer, holler, whatever you got to do to celebrate, please do that. And to everybody watching, please find a way to take care of yourselves. It's been such a taxing year for everyone, professionally, personally, physically, mentally, emotionally. So please, whatever you do to recharge and rejuvenate and to center yourself, please take some time to do that so that we can be back in action in the fall, even stronger. I can't wait to see everybody in person. I got to attend 2 of our graduations today, one in person, one virtual. It was great to be in person with the students and families of the RCEEA school and to celebrate those graduates. I want to give them a big shout out, and our one graduate from Amelia Street School as well. Congratulations to him as well. All right, tomorrow's the last day, and Friday we're closed in honor of Juneteenth, which is actually on Saturday, but we are observing it on Friday. And that is the topic for this evening. We have an all-star panel tonight to discuss this incredibly important date on our calendar. And I am joined by none other than Professor Is. Thank you so much for being back on the show. I feel like we got to get you one of those like master's jackets, because you've been on like 7 times or something, and you need like one of those special jackets. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us back on the show, and I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks so much. Greetings to everyone out there in the RPS extended family and RPS family. Today is going to be a special commemoration of Juneteenth. And so we're not going to waste any time. We want to jump right into the things that we have planned for you today. We've got a variety of folks that are with us on the panel that are going to be presenting and discussing. And so it's an honor and pleasure to be here yet again. I want to introduce Miss Diane Briggs-Bacon from Mary Munford and bring her to the front so that she can, set us off on this good send-off to this commemoration.
Good afternoon, Richmond Public Schools family and friends. I am Diane Briggs-Bacon, and I have been a veteran music educator with Richmond Public Schools for 43 years, and I've loved every bit of it. I am presently the music teacher at Mary Munford Elementary School. Now, I would like to introduce you to Miss Isabella Lorraine Brownlee. She is the daughter of Lynn and Mallory Brownlee. She's a 4th grade honor student at Holton Elementary School. Bella participates in mind games, and she enjoys playing tennis, baking, and of course, her love of music. She is also a member of the musical theater Happy Holton Players. And now I have the honor to introduce to you Miss Bella Brownlee.
Lift every voice. sensing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Well done, well done. That was so beautiful. Wow, unbelievable.
Yes, fantastic job. Every time that I hear that song, I just remember all the years as a young man singing that and feeling always the emotion of the words. I want to go ahead and and thank you again, Bella and Miss Diane Briggs Bacon for that wonderful rendition. I want to introduce the panelists so that we can get into this commemoration. Today we have some very important folks that are part of our RPS family and extended family. We have Miss Omilade Janine Bell, who is the president and artistic director of the Legba Folklore Society, has been a hallmark in Richmond. For years, since I was a kid. It has always been a place where it was a center of culture for we who were young, conscious folks coming up in Richmond. I want to also introduce Miss Taran Coulier, who is a history teacher. She teaches in elementary, but she focuses on history instruction because she's one of our academic architects for history and social studies there at Red Elementary School. We want to welcome her for coming out today. And then we also have, and I hope I want to make sure I pronounce Taraya Carter, fourth grade student from Red Elementary School. Welcome and thank you for being with us. We also have Frances Johnson, fourth grade teacher at Linwood Holton, but also one of our academic architects for history and the social studies. And then we have Special Scott from George Wythe. We definitely want to thank Special for being with us in the building today. And we have Taequan Atkins also with us in the building. We want to thank him for being with us today as well. So we've got, some really, really important and great people that are with us today. And let's just very quickly, I just want to tell you about what we're about to get into. I'm going to have a little brief discussion here with Ms. Omilade Janine Bell about this history of Juneteenth. But the purpose of today is for us to welcome you into Richmond Public Schools and to be a part of this commemoration. We know now that it is a state, federal holiday that that many folks are, observing now. We see it around the country that there are, many states that are now acknowledging it. But we want you to be a part of a tradition that we're building here at RPS, starting last year with the wonderful program and with those who came out Ms. Desiree Dabney, who's with us as well. We want to thank her for being in the building. She was with us as well in the previous sessions. And we're starting a tradition. And that's why you're seeing some of the similar faces from the previous year with some of the faces from this year, because we're building that tradition. We want you to come along with us and be a part of this special commemoration. Omilade, welcome back to being with us at RPS. You are a partner with us and someone that we look forward to working with going forward in the future. You helped to lay the groundwork for our discussions early on with establishing the Real Richmond course. And when I reach out to you and say, I want you to be a part of something, you do everything you can to be a part of it. So I thank you for coming out to be with us this evening.
Well, thank you so much for having me back this year. It is an honor to be a part of the goings on at Richmond Public Schools. I attended a graduation today myself at Benford, and it was just a joy to be among the rising ninth graders.
Yes. Well, Omilade, I want to, last year we got into some foundational things and brought out some information about the connections to Black people in America with their African origins. And we went pretty deep, and people loved that. They enjoyed that we were getting into the history. But last year, it was important to bring people on the road to understanding the importance of Black people in American history as voices that have been marginalized. But this year, I want to really talk a little bit about what's going on here with Juneteenth. I want to talk about, what it's looking like when you hear the news of it being observed throughout the country. So let's go and get big picture first. Can you provide a little overview of the history and the context behind Juneteenth?
Yes, indeed, I'm happy to. First of all, I'm happy to say that, yes, I am so happy that finally this history, this event, this commemoration, this holiday, holy day that hasn't appeared on any calendar until now is beginning to get the attention of people as an important occasion, because it is indeed. For our history buffs in the audience, we know that the Emancipation and Proclamation was enacted January 1st, 1863, Civil War. So it's a Virginia story as soon as you start talking about what? The Civil War. Those were the years when Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. Richmond had chosen a side in the Civil War. It was a side that did not benefit Black people. So Abraham Lincoln, as president, pushed forth the action of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, mid-war, that freed Africans enslaved in the southern states. Well, when you dig deeper into that, we realize that it was really a military intervention, because the Union Army needed all the men possible to win the war. And so it needed Black men to win the war. And so Black men willingly joined the Union Army, the United States Colored Troops, partially for the war, but a deeper sense of freedom was burning inside their minds and their hearts. But of course, in Virginia and everywhere where the American enslavement of African people existed, it was all about money. It was all about product through the objectification of humans to make money that the humans objectified, Africans enslaved, had no benefit from. So like in Virginia, the cash crop was what? Tobacco. Go on down to North Carolina, tobacco. South Carolina, now you have rice, indigo. Now we're getting into Georgia. What is it? Cotton. Look at your clothes. What are we wearing right now? Cotton. And cotton needed a picking in the South. And in Texas, and probably other places as well, that Emancipation Proclamation wasn't a fond legislation that anybody wanted to pay attention to. And so Africans who probably heard the call and knew for their own liberation what was happening, because there was resistance and there were Africans certainly who freed themselves, but it wasn't until on or about June 19th, 1865, a full 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been enacted, that Union General Gordon Granger sailed into Galveston Harbor in Texas, just outside of Houston, to order all of those who were not willing to obey the Emancipation Proclamation to free finally the last of Africans enslaved. So Juneteenth, National Freedom Day, it's a time for thinking about concepts of freedom and what that means historically, what it means in society. The social justice movement of 2020 that continues today shows that, but then also what it means internally, how we see ourselves.
So that's that broad context. But now, being that, you know, folks here in Virginia heard the call for freedom a little bit sooner than the brethren that and sister that were in Texas there. Let's think about what Juneteenth means at the local level. What are your thoughts about Juneteenth here on the local level? Because you're one of the first, if not the first, to really push for this to be a commemoration for us. And I've been with you for years, you know, coming out and taking part. And so, you know, what does this mean for us? Why is it that at a local level, we in Richmond, Virginia are having anything to do with this?
And so many people ask that question. They say, well, if it's a Texas thing, then what's that got to do with me? But history is a long story of the fact, as Dr. Martin Luther King is quoted to say in one of my favorite of his quotes, because we have to remember now that when, and let's go back a little bit further, even almost 100 years before 1863 at St. John's Church on East Broad Street, Patrick Henry, as a delegate in the Virginia General Assembly, was imploring his fellow delegates to separate Virginia from the colonizer, England. There was money caught up in that. There were politics caught up in that. There was self-determination, if you will, caught up in that. And there was the triangular trade of enslaved Africans from, at one point, Liverpool to Dahomey, now the Republic of Benin, to Richmond, and other places in England to West Africa, to this area, bringing Africans in as they begin to sail up the Powhatan River that became known as the James with the coming of Christopher Newport in 1607 and populating Shockoe Bottom. So now when that separation happened, the importation stopped, not as a benevolent thing, sadly, but because here's the money again, the economics again. Patrick Henry and his colleagues saw that Virginia could make some money. And Virginia then became a breeding state with Richmond, its capital, at its center, with Shockoe Bottom as the economic engine, where Shockoe Bottom saw as a revolving door Africans passing through. Some accounts say more Africans than any place else. Accounts say 300,000, 350,000 or more Africans came through Shockoe Bottom that furnished the whole entire Deep South of unpaid Black labor. Let's get free. So Juneteenth Now, and let me go back again. So 1776, and Frederick Douglass comes out and says, what is the 4th of July to the Negro?
Went to the slave.
Yeah. And so Juneteenth can become Independence Day our way.
I love it. So, Omalade, I know that you have, you have to get it, prepare for the preparation for the commemoration that you all are doing at Legba Folklore this evening. So I know you're going to have to step off in a minute, but I want you to be able to share your screen, show us the flyer, and tell us what everybody needs to know about, this commemoration of Juneteenth, where you're going to be doing the commemoration, and what things do people need to be prepared to see, do, or whatever to commemorate. Go ahead.
Well, we thank you so much. Thank you so much. We cheerfully and lovingly invite everyone to the Legba Folklore Society's 25th anniversary Juneteenth commemoration. Juneteenth 2021, a freedom celebration on Sunday, June 27th at Richmond's African Burial Ground. We especially invite Richmond Public School students to the Get Woke Youth Summit that starts at 1 o'clock. We are happy to welcome children under 12 to come for free. We have scholarships for youth 12 to 18 to come to the summit and to come on into the rest of the event with your family on stage. Of course, the Legba Folklore Society's performers, super beautiful, super conscious MC Sarak. She will inspire you. Butcher Brown will calm you in thinking about these concepts of freedom from the inside out and the outside in. And we're going to get a history lesson with Dr. Gerald Horn, eminent historian from the University of Houston. Our theme, Dancing with the Ancestors at the African Burial Ground. So we are requesting that you wear white. You can bring an ancestral offering. Well, what does she mean by that? Well, you could bring some flowers, you could bring some fruit, you could bring something sweet, some cakes or some candies. You could even bring just a sip of water to say thank you to somebody, because none of us in this moment got here by ourselves. And so we're being hoisted up by energies and spirits who want to know that they have been remembered. The healing ciphers will be there. Everybody's stressed out. It's been a long school year, Jason Kamras, and we have made it through thanks to your leadership and the staff that you have worked with throughout the year. So we have healing ciphers that you can ease into and meditate and involve yourself with aromatherapy. Do some breath work. The children can make an I am somebody charm. And yes, we'll have some curated shopping in the Freedom Market and a little food as well. So just come, take a deep breath. Concepts of freedom, be together for Independence Day our way.
Thank you so much, Omelade Janine Bell, for being with us. We know you've got to leave us right now to prepare to make that event a success for us all. But thank you so much for being with us and always sharing. And as we used to say in my day, dropping that science on us about the history of Juneteenth. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
All right, bye. All right, so now that we have some of this background and we've got this history, we want to just tap into some of this discussion with those of you that are on the panel with us today. Teachers and students alike, feel free to weigh in. I'm going to put a question out, and I want us to just have a little bit of a discussion for a few minutes. As you think about the history of Juneteenth, how we're making this, something that we are commemorating, how can we bring this alive for our students? Let's talk about that. Let's hear from our teachers that are in the building. Mr. Johnson and Ms. Coulier, talk to us about that. How can we bring this, make this alive for students? Go ahead.
So for me, first off, being first generation born in America, I didn't grow up being taught this history. So I know even when it came to 4th of July, my family doesn't really celebrate that. We would celebrate Ghanaian Independence Day. But to bring this history alive, first we have to be taught it as youth. I know last year, this year especially, one of the big things is in Virginia history, when we get to that subject matter, celebrating Juneteenth, explaining the history behind it, making the students aware that it's even a day, understanding why we celebrate this and why it may not have been widely celebrated in the past, but also so that they're not left just thinking it's a day off from school.
Right. That's right. Ms. Coulier, go ahead.
So in working with yourself, Mr. Israel, in the RPS History Department, I know we're challenged to change these prevailing narratives in history that we see. And so we can make this content come alive for our students as well by continuing to challenge these narratives of elitism, classism, racism within our curriculum, and to challenge the narratives that we consistently see and make sure that we're bringing out the voices that have been silenced and marginalized for our students the entire year, but also making sure that we make Juneteenth particularly come alive for our students, as Mr. Johnson said, by making sure students are aware of the history of the day. We're also trained in the history department to expose them to primary sources and inquiry-based learning. So allowing them to use primary sources from the history of Juneteenth, but also to, again, as Mr. Johnson stated, make this a celebration and allow students to express their thoughts and themselves through writings and documents. And to share art, music, and more with our students, and to allow this to empower them to this day. And
you brought one of your students to the forefront. We asked her to be a part of today. Let's hear from her. You want to bring her to the stage so that we can sort of hear her thoughts here?
Sure. So I'm going to actually let her, she does a lovely job of introducing herself. So Tarai, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Taran Coulier. I'm a fourth grader, and I go to Elizabeth D. Red Elementary School.
Well, thank you for being with us, Taran. What are your thoughts about Juneteenth? Do you have any thoughts about Juneteenth? Anything that you want to share with us about this day, this special day? Do you celebrate this with your family?
Well, to me, Juneteenth is a day of empowerment for the Black community. I think it's a great holiday because it's the day specifically dedicated to celebrate the end of slavery. Juneteenth is important for many reasons, but most importantly because it's the day in 1865 when slavery was abolished. Juneteenth has been celebrated for over 155 years to honor Black culture. It's often celebrated with prayers, storytelling, parades, and of course with food and music. I think it's important that RPS celebrates Juneteenth because it gives RPS students and families of many different ethnic backgrounds a chance to learn about Black history. There are many people unfamiliar with Juneteenth, but this gives us a chance to explain what Juneteenth is, why it's celebrated, and why we're important. Lastly, it's important that we recognize Juneteenth in the RPS community to honor and celebrate the freedom of those who were enslaved for many years.
I'm listening real close to what you're saying, and if we had a little bit more volume, but you were saying some really great stuff about Juneteenth, and you're so articulate with this subject matter. So I know that you have been taken a part in this commemoration, and this has been a part of of what you've been doing. I think that's wonderful. I love what you mentioned about people from all different parts of the community taking a part in this, something that we can all share together. So wonderful, so wonderful. Does anyone else that's on the panel want to share about Juneteenth and why it's important to you and your family? Any of you, feel free to jump in and tell us, why is Juneteenth important to you and your family? Any of you can speak on it. Go ahead.
For me, I'm a young African American girl. I just want to learn more about the history and culture, and I feel like Juneteenth is an opportunity to learn and also to share this information with everybody else, because other people might not know about it, and this is a chance I can be like, hey, have you heard of Juneteenth? Spread, because we have to spread the word.
Very good, very good. Yes. Anyone else want to share why Juneteenth is important to you and your family? Go ahead.
Yes. So for me, I was always taught by my parents that for you to know where you're going, you need to know where you came from. And I believe that Juneteenth allows us to have a full day where we take that time to remember what our forefathers went through and their experiences, so that we can celebrate and enjoy, honestly, a lot of the liberties that we have now. Because if we don't think about that or celebrate it or remember it or teach about it, all of their sacrifices don't get acknowledged, and that's just a shame.
I think it's so powerful when you talk about coming from Ghana, and I think that's why our panel is so diverse today, because this represents RPS. This represents the kind of extended family that we want everyone to take part in. And when you talk about being first generation, coming from the motherland, if you will, right? If you had come in the early 1850s, 40s, all the way back, even the early 1860s, just by visual, you could have been mistaken as an African American. And we know with the fugitive slave law, those kind of things, you could have been in the same predicament, right? Just because of your appearance, phenotype, right? So it's important that people from around the world recognize the not only the struggle and the challenge of African American people in this country, but also the ways that we overcame, the resilience, the strength, and the indomitable spirit to be free, so that other folks from around the world can partake in this freedom. I mean, let's just keep it all the way real. There are going to be some folks who are going to be getting the benefit of a day off, right, for Juneteenth, who don't have ancestry connected back to folk who worked for this to be a reality. So it is a responsibility for all of you who are not the descendants of enslaved people in this country to be able to bear witness to the struggle of Black folk, to be thankful for the struggle of Black folk, and to not just use this as a day off, to just do hardy-har, but to really commit yourself to saying, this is a day for me to read. This is a day for me to expand my knowledge of Black history, my knowledge of enslavement and its impact on folks. This is my day to do a good deed. This is my day to be able to enhance my community in some way, even though I may not be a descendant from the culture of people who had to experience this pain and this struggle. Amen, Walls? All right, so I wanted us to talk about this. And so it's good to have this discussion, and we could just continue to go so much further into this. And I hope that this session that we do today, actually begins that process to make you want to dig deeper as a viewer and say, I want to know more. And for those that may be watching with family members or friends who said, I've never heard any of this, well, that's what you use Friday for. That's what you're going to use Friday for. All right, let's go ahead and make that commitment today. At this time, we want to go ahead and bring to the stage Mr. Taequan Atkins, an 8th grader from Bouchal Middle School. But I want first Ms. Desiree Dabney to go ahead and just set the stage and tell us about this young man before he comes to do what he does for us, and then share with us what he will be imparting upon the audience. Go ahead, Ms. Dan.
Good afternoon, family. Yes, my name is Desiree Dabney. I am the theater arts teacher, the first theater arts teacher at TC Bouchard Middle School, home of the Eagles. And I am honored to be here with you today, a part of history, but also a part of a lesson that needs to be learned and heard. I am bringing to you Taequan Atkins, an extraordinary scholar from Bouchard Middle School. He is a part of the theater ensemble, and this year was the very first Richmond Public Schools Theater Festival, and Taequan Atkins was in the first class of actors to participate in this festival. One thing I know for sure is that Taequan has made history. He has made history, and he is only an 8th grader. I don't think he realizes it, but it's okay. Because I will always remind him as his teacher. It is my job to remind him how extraordinary and amazing he is. He is bringing to you today a poem called We Rose. This poem embodies the voices that may not be with us today, but as actors, it is our job to challenge the audience and to continue to tell the story. All right, so I would love to introduce to you 8th grader from Bouchard Middle School, Taequan Atkins, with the poem called We Rose.
Thank you, Ms. Dan. From Africa's heart, we rose, already a people, our faces ebone, our bodies lean, we rose. Skills of art, life, beauty, and family. Crushed by forces we knew nothing of, we rose. Survive we must, we did, we rose. We rose to be you. We rose to be me, above everything expected. We rose to become the knowledge we never knew. We rose, dream we did, act we must. So dream like Martin, lead like Harriet, fight like Malcolm, write like Maya, speak like Frederick, dare like Shirley, think like Maxine, educate like W.E.B., challenge like Rosa, and inspire like Obama. Thank you.
Woo. All right. Can I put a fire emoji on here somewhere? I'm looking for the fire emoji. Very great job. All of you, I mean, you know, all of you, Bella, Taraya, Taequan, y'all are just phenomenal students who are representative of the many more bright students just like yourself that are a part of Richmond Public Schools. This isn't the exception, this is the rule, okay? So this is a representation of what we do. So I wanna thank all of you. I wanna thank also our panelists, Ms. Coulier, Mr. Johnson, wanna thank again, Ms. Dabney. I wanna thank Ms. Bacon, all of you for being with us today. This was a very good conversation and great commemoration. I'm gonna turn it over to Superintendent Cameras to go ahead and close us out and give us some words of challenge and closing for the viewers.
Thank you, Professor Is. It's going to be hard to follow Taequan. That was pretty incredible. So I just want to say thank you to you and Ms. Dabney. I feel like if I could hire you to introduce me everywhere, that would be fantastic because wow, the intro of Taequan, I hope you're on cloud 9 for like the next few months. Miss Dabney is incredible, and Taraya and everybody else who joined. Mr. Johnson, I got special love for as he was my son's teacher, so I'm incredibly grateful to him and Miss Coulier and Miss Bacon. It's good to see you. It's been a little while, but it's wonderful to see you. And I'm so sorry. Remind me of your name. Our young lady who sang "Lift Every Voice."
Della Brownlee.
Della.
Isabella Brownlee.
It was absolutely beautiful, and your comments were wonderful as well. So thank you so much. I just want to, echo many of the comments that were made today. Professor Is challenged everyone to make Friday more than just a day off, but a day of learning. And I want to echo that and challenge everybody to learn more about Juneteenth, learn more about the history of Richmond, of Virginia, of the United States, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's how we move forward. I think Mr. Johnson noted, you got to know where you're from to know where you're going. And sometimes the past is hard to face, but that's what we have to do if we're going to move forward in a more positive way. And I just want to echo also what was said is, Juneteenth, I'm very excited that the Senate today passed legislation to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Still has to go to the House, but I think that will pass as well, and President Biden will sign it. And I think that's an incredible achievement, because Juneteenth is not just for Black Americans. It has particular resonance, of course, for Black Americans, but it is an important moment to commemorate for all Americans. It is American history. And I think sometimes we separate Black history and American history. Black history is American history. And that's why a federal recognition of Juneteenth is so vitally important. I want to challenge everybody, as Mr. Is did, whatever your background, to learn more, to become more educated about our collective history, so that we can together create a more equitable and more just and more inclusive Richmond, Virginia, and America. And with that, I'll conclude tonight. Professor Is, any final words?
No, I think we've summed it up. And so the challenge is there. And I'll see you on Friday, everyone. And I'll have my goggles and my magnifying glass and my microscope, checking out what books you're going to be reading, what documentaries you're going to be watching as you learn more about the history of Black people in America and their struggle for liberation.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone. A luta continua. Struggle continues. Bye.